Ladies and gentlemen, purpose is not something you stumble upon in the dark. It is not something you accidentally uncover on a casual stroll through life's confusion. It is not the byproduct of your parents' decisions or the environment you were born into or the opinions of people who never saw what was written about you before time began. No, purpose is a preordained decision carved out in eternity, spoken in silence before your body had form. And just because it wasn't announced in the hospital room doesn't mean it wasn't declared in the throne room. For the one who knew you before he formed you already appointed you before anybody accepted you. And the plan was never your idea. It was God's original thought. You are not the result of human prediction. You are the manifestation of divine intention. And you can't measure purpose by popularity or platform or paycheck or position, because purpose isn't found in what you do. It is hidden in why you were created. And until you stop asking the world who you are and start asking the one who made you, you will continue to live in circles of survival while calling it success. And the tragedy is not that people fail. The tragedy is that they succeed in the wrong assignment because they never check the blueprint of their existence. Everything created was created for something, and that something is the reason why it exists. And the danger of not knowing your why is that you will let other people assign you a what. And when people define your function without understanding your formation, they reduce you to usefulness instead of unleashing you into your calling. And that's why you've got to rise every morning not asking, what do I want to do? But what was I born to solve? What pain was I born to heal? What darkness was I born to light up? Because the moment you locate your assignment, distraction loses its purpose. Is not a place, it's a perspective. And too many people are trying to relocate when God is trying to recalibrate, because your purpose is not hiding in a new job or a new city or a new relationship. It is hidden inside the same vessel you see in the mirror every day, waiting to be activated by alignment. Because purpose doesn't begin when you get a platform. It begins the moment you say yes to the plan that was spoken before you ever breathed oxygen. And that plan is not random. It is not reactive. It is not reactive. It is not plan B. It is the original blueprint waiting on your agreement. If God ever started something, it's because he already finished it. And if he finished it, then your purpose is not under construction. Your understanding is because the moment you grasp that your life is not a guessing game, but a guided mission, you stop asking if you're qualified and start realizing you were chosen before the question even existed. And when you know you were chosen, you stop auditioning for validation. You stop comparing callings, and you stop comparing callings onions, because purpose makes you original, and you were never built to be a replica of anybody else's dream. You don't find purpose, you return to it. And every day you wake up without it is a day you live beneath your potential, because potential is purpose undiscovered. And when you start your day with Jeremiah 29, you are not reciting a verse, you are receiving a strategy. You are stepping into divine intel that says your life was written with precision, your future was drawn with intention, and your identity is not up for negotiation. It's already been defined by the God who saw your end before your beginning and still said yes. So you don't chase purpose, you align with it. And when you align, you don't need to be pushed, you are pulled. Because something inside of you remembers eternity. Something inside of you recognizes the voice of the one who formed you. Something inside of you resonates when heaven calls your name. Ode. And you realize that the reason you feel uncomfortable in average places and unsatisfied with ordinary dreams is because greatness is encoded in your spirit, and destiny is written in your DNA, and deep calls unto deep when you stop living for survival and start walking in significance. And now you no longer live from the outside in, you live from the inside out, because purpose is not random. It's planned, it's planted, it's preserved, and it's waiting for your yes. Not just a yes with your mouth, but a yes with your mouth, a yes with your mind, a yes with your habits, a yes with your discipline. A yes with your focus, because the plan hasn't changed. The only question is whether you will. Every morning is not just another alarm clock screaming at your schedule. It is not just a chance to sip coffee and scroll through your phone and replay the regrets of yesterday or fear the demands of tomorrow. No, every morning is a divine summons, a royal appointment, a sacred invitation into the continuation of a story that was written in eternity and unfolding in time. Because the moment your eyes open and your lungs fill with breath, it is not biology functioning. It is destiny calling. It is purpose whispering. It is heaven saying, say. You're still here because the mission is still alive. And if the mission is alive, then mediocrity must die. You don't just wake up. You are awakened, and you are awakened because something in the future is depending on your obedience in the present. And every sunrise is heaven's way of resetting the battlefield, placing you back into position, and giving you the chance to say, "This is the day the Lord has made," not as a cliche, but as a declaration of dominion, because the day didn't make itself, and you didn't wake up to wonder, you woke up to win, to build, to break cycles, to shift atmospheres, to carry kingdom into chaos. And if you can see your morning as more than a moment, you will treat your minutes like miracles waiting to manifest. Every time light hits your window, it is a prophetic reminder that darkness couldn't keep you, that hell lost its vote, that depression failed to shut you down, that fear was denied access to your next season. Because if you're still breathing, it's not because life is easy. It's because purpose is stronger than pain, and destiny cannot be buried under disappointment when heaven has decided to keep writing your story. And when you rise in the morning, don't rise like a victim of yesterday. Rise like a vessel of destiny. Rise like a vessel of destiny. Rise like someone who understands that time is a kingdom resource, and today is another opportunity to walk out what was written. You were never meant to sleepwalk through mornings filled with miracles, never meant to drag yourself into a new day with the weight of old wounds, never meant to live on autopilot when heaven has given you full access, because your mornings are not just for routines, they are for recalibration, for receiving instruction, for checking in with the author and finisher of your faith and asking, "What part of the vision do I fulfill today?" And when you ask that, you shift from survival mode into strategy mode, from confusion into clarity, because destiny doesn't begin with big stages. It begins with small decisions made early and often in the stillness of the morning. There is a version of you that your future needs, and that version is awakened in the morning, not in your sleep, not in your excuses, not in your fear, but in your decision to treat the start of your day like the start of your legacy. Because the enemy doesn't just want to ruin your day, he wants to rob your mornings, because if he can keep you distracted before the sun even fully rises, he knows you'll miss the whispers of wisdom, the downloads of direction, the peace that positions your heart to lead with vision and not emotion, with strategy and not reaction, because mornings are where commanders of destiny prepare for battle. You are not a slave to time, you are a steward of time. And the morning is the gate where your authority either stands up or lays down, because if you stand up in identity, if you stand up in clarity, if you stand up in purpose, then hell can't ambush you halfway through the day. Because you already met with heaven before the world even got a chance to pull at your attention. And that's why people who carry destiny talk to God before they talk to anyone else. Because the voice that created you should always be louder than the voices that critique you. And when you start with the Creator, you don't get lost in creation. So you stop treating morning like a mundane ritual, and you start treating it like a prophetic portal. Because every time your feet hit the floor, hell should be nervous, because a purpose-driven vessel just re-entered the realm of responsibility. And every conversation you have, every decision you make, every place you go, is not just a schedule. It is a strategy unfolding. And when you walk like you're sent, not just present, when you live like you're assigned, not just existing, you begin to dominate time instead of being drained by it. And you don't just survive your days. You steward them like the commander you were born to be. And now, you don't need a new year to start over. You just need a new morning to start right. Because every morning is a meeting with destiny, and not because it's dramatic, but because it's divine. And if you can discipline your mind, align your spirit, and submit your will before the noise of the world begins, then no matter what chaos tries to arise, you've already been to the throne room, you've already gotten your orders, you've already set your pace, and now the only thing left to do is walk it out on purpose. God thinks about you not occasionally, not incidentally, not when you pray loud enough or perform well enough or cry long enough, but constantly, deliberately, perpetually, and intentionally, because you are not just on his mind, you are in his strategy, woven into the blueprint of divine movement, encoded into the kingdom's expansion. And if he thinks about you, it means he hasn't forgotten you, hasn't overlooked you, hasn't put you on pause. And you've got to understand that the God of the galaxies, who manages the movement of stars and the orchestration of universes, still considers you significant enough to be the subject of divine thought, not as an afterthought, but as a forethought. You are not one in a crowd to him. You are not just a speck in time, not just another soul among billions. You are a masterpiece that he handcrafted with intent and imagination. And when God said, "I know the thoughts I think toward you," he wasn't referring to vague concepts or spiritual poetry. He meant that every detail of your life is included in the architecture of his plan. Every gift in you was planted for a reason. Every season you've survived was factored into your development. And every dream you carry is a clue that he's still working the blueprint he wrote when he first imagined your existence before time ever had a name. He doesn't just think of you when you pray. He doesn't just notice you when you worship. He doesn't just track you when you behave well. His thoughts toward you are not reactions to your performance. They are extensions of his promise. Because your identity was established before your behavior fluctuated. And if you really knew how often he thought about you, you'd stop measuring your worth by other people's memory and start living from the revelation that the most important mind in all existence never stops considering your journey, your process, your purpose, and your becoming. You are not lost in the shuffle of divine priorities. You are not sitting in some cosmic waiting room hoping to be seen. Because God's thoughts are not distant, not delayed, not distracted. They are focused, they are alive, they are current, and they are for your good. And when heaven thinks about you, it doesn't dwell on your past. It envisions your future. It sees the version of you that hasn't fully arrived yet, but is already finished in the spirit. And you have to understand that if God thinks about you, then every word he speaks to you is rooted in vision, not in verdict. His thoughts are higher, yes, but they're not unreachable because he doesn't think lofty thoughts to intimidate you. He thinks elevated thoughts to invite you. And when you tap into his mind concerning you, you begin to see that you were never meant to live small, never meant to think cheap, never meant to shrink to fit the limitations of other people's opinions. Because when God thinks about you, he sees impact, he sees transformation, he sees nations in your voice and solutions in your hands and legacy in your footsteps. And you've got to stop shrinking when heaven is calling you up to original design. You were made in his image, which means you were made from divine thought. And if you came from his thought, then you are not a reaction to culture, not a product of chance, not the side effect of someone else's mistake. You are the result of intentionality. And the same God who thought you into being is still thinking you into becoming, still thinking through your detours, still thinking through your battles, still thinking through your doubts. And every time you wonder if you're still on track, just remember, you are in the thoughts of the one who never loses focus. Stop living like you're forgotten when you've been factored in. Stop praying like you're begging when you've already been chosen. Stop second guessing what heaven has already confirmed. Because if God thinks about you, then he's also speaking over you, guiding you, correcting you, realigning you, and preparing you. And the enemy wants you to believe that silence means absence. But the truth is, silence is often strategy. And the mind of God is still working even when the mouth of God seems quiet, because he doesn't need to shout every thought to prove he's still involved. And now, with that revelation alive in your spirit, you stop looking for proof in your feelings and you start standing in the truth of his thoughts. Because if he thinks about you on purpose, then you have no business living by accident, no business living beneath a level of your calling. No business walking in confusion when clarity has already been considered. And the same God who thought enough of you to form you, to call you, to keep you, is still thinking. And his thoughts are still good, still full of peace, still rooted in future, still overflowing with hope, still echoing the original decision to love you into destiny. Peace is your portion, not chaos, not confusion, not anxiety wrapped in a smile, not silent breakdowns hidden behind busy schedules, not restless nights replaying conversations that were never meant to define. Because peace is not a luxury for the holy elite or a seasonal emotion that comes and goes. Like peace is your inheritance. It is your covenant birthright. It is the divine atmosphere that you were designed to live in, breathe in, make decisions in, and move in. And when God set up plans to prosper you, not to harm you, he wasn't promising a life without storms. He was guaranteeing a life where storms don't own the final word. Peace is not the absence of problems. It is the presence of alignment. And when you're aligned with the mind of God, when your spirit is anchored in the will of God, when your identity is secured in the heart of God, then even when the waves rise and the winds howl, your inner world stays still. Not because the storm isn't loud, but because the voice of peace speaks louder. And when he said a peace, be still, he wasn't just calming the sea. He was showing you how your spirit should respond to external noise. Because when you carry divine peace, you don't react like everybody else. You don't panic like the world does. You lead from rest. Chaos is what the enemy wants to rent space in your mind with. But peace is what evicts the lie, rewrites the story, stabilizes the soul, and reminds your heart that no matter what's surrounding you, heaven is still in control. And you've got to understand that peace is not passive. Peace is not soft. Peace is not weakness. Peace is a weapon. Peace is warfare and stillness. Peace is authority and silence. Peace is the proof that you are not governed by circumstance, but by covenant. And if peace is your portion, then chaos is illegal in your atmosphere, and you have permission to drive it out. There is a kind of peace that money can't buy, that education can't teach, that therapy can't manufacture, that relationships can't stabilize because it doesn't come from outside. It flows from within, and it is not man-made. It is God-breathed. It is supernatural. It is rooted in the nature of Christ. And when you are in him and he is in you, then the same peace that calms seas now calms your mind. The same peace that ruled his steps now rules your decisions. And the same peace that refused fear now refuses to let fear hijack your future. Peace is not an accessory to your faith walk. It is essential to your purpose walk, because you can't build with shaky hands. You can't hear divine instruction in mental chaos. You can't discern your next move when you're drowning in noise. And that's why the enemy doesn't just come after your breakthrough. He comes after your peace, because he knows that if he can disturb your peace, he can disrupt your flow, delay your assignment, and detour your obedience. But when you guard your peace like the treasure it is, when you protect your atmosphere like the garden it was designed to be, then clarity finds you and favor follows you. The kingdom you belong to is not shaken, not broken, not rattled by recession or culture or pressure, because it is built on righteousness, peace, and joy. And if peace is 1/3 of your kingdom DNA, then it must become 100% of your lifestyle standard. And you must stop normalizing torment as a personality trait. Stop excusing inner warfare as just part of being driven. Stop accepting tension as the cost of ambition, because your call is not chaos-driven, it is peace-led. And if God is not the author of confusion, then confusion is not your portion. So let the storm rage, let the critics talk, let the uncertainties swirl around you like noise in the background. But don't let it in. Don't let it sit down in your soul. Don't give anxiety a seat at your table, because peace prepares a table in the presence of your enemies and says, eat anyway. Peace says build anyway. Peace says keep walking even when the fog won't lift, because peace isn't pretend the battle isn't real. Peace is knowing the victory already is. And now you walk different, talk different, lead different, pray different. Because when peace is your portion, you don't live according to pressure. You live according to presence. And that presence is not fragile. It is unshakable. It is immovable. It is eternal. And it declares to everything trying to shake you that you belong to the God of peace. And if the God of peace is with you, then no chaos, no confusion, no darkness has the power to own you, move you, or stop you, because peace is your portion. And you will not trade it for anything less. Hope is not a wish, not a vague longing tossed into the universe, not an emotional gamble dressed up in spiritual language, not a soft whisper hoping to outlast the chaos. No, hope is a force. Hope is a supply line from heaven. Hope is the substance that keeps your spirit lifted when your eyes can't yet see what was promised. Hope is not light thinking. It's strategic survival. It is heaven's signal pulsing inside your chest that says there's more, even when your surroundings say it's over. And think of it. And when scripture calls it an anchor, it means hope holds you in place when storms try to move you, when doubt tries to drown you, and when delay tries to detour you from what's already been declared over your life. You don't survive on talent. You don't thrive on motivation. You move forward because hope is at work underneath it all. Because hope is what fuels the faith you walk by. What powers the prayers you pray? What keeps your vision alive when everything around you feels blurry and uncertain? And if you treat hope like a decoration for good days instead of a foundation for hard days, you'll underestimate the reason why the enemy doesn't just attack your strength. He attacks your hope, because he knows that if he can steal your hope, your strength will fold, your passion will fade. Fourfold, your passion will fade, and your purpose will pause. But if hope is protected, then no weapon formed against you will prosper, because the battle isn't just around you, it's within you. Hope is not passive. Hope is power under pressure. It is the decision to stay ready when the breakthrough hasn't arrived. It is the mindset of the mature, the posture of those who know their assignment didn't expire just because the process got heavy. Because people of the kingdom do not wait in fear. They wait in hope. They build in hope. They fight in hope. And they dream in hope. Because hope doesn't lie to you. It leads you. And when hope is alive in your spirit, your prayers shift, your words shift, your atmosphere shifts. Because hope has a voice, and it always sounds like the future. When heaven sends vision, hope is the container that carries it until it's fulfilled. And you've got to stop treating hope like it's weak when in reality, it's warfare. Because it's one thing to believe when it's happening, but it's another level to hope when nothing is moving. To hope when people walk away, to hope when your own mind starts doubting, to hope when you're tired of hoping and yet you refuse to back down. You refuse to give up, you refuse to settle. Not because of how you feel, but because of what you know. But because of what you know, that hope is not a vibe. It's a resource from another realm that refuses to run dry. You were never designed to walk by sight alone. You were built to walk by vision, and vision is birthed in hope. And when God breathed life into you, He didn't just give you gifts, He gave you hope. And that hope is what keeps you dreaming when doors close, keeps you writing when no one's reading, keeps you sowing when nothing's growing, keeps you showing up to rooms you don't feel ready for because heaven already marked you as chosen for it. And when you walk with that kind of hope, your feet might be in the storm, but your spirit is in the promise. And if hope is a resource, that means it can be refilled. It means it doesn't come from you. It flows through you. And that's why the word says He is the God of hope, which means hope isn't just something He gives, it's who He is. It's who He is. And when you stay connected to the source, your supply can't run out, because even if your plans shift, even if your path changes, even if your timeline breaks, hope doesn't break with it. Hope keeps breathing, keeps building, keeps calling you forward into the version of you that's already finished in heaven's mind. Even when Earth Hassan, your end is already settled, not up for debate, not hanging in the balance of people's opinions or your past mistakes or what you didn't do right the first time. Because the author of your story wrote the conclusion before the first sentence, which means nothing in between has the power to void what was already written. And when God says, I know the plans I have for you, He is not discovering your life. He is revealing it. He is unfolding what He already finished. And your job is not to write your destiny, but to align with what is already done in the invisible realm and walk it out in the visible one. You have to understand that your story does not end in confusion, does not end in failure, does not end in regret, does not end in cycles of almost and not quite. Because when the King writes your ending, He writes it in victory ink. He writes it in victory ink. He writes it with intention. He seals it with. And the entire journey you're on right now is not about guessing the outcome. It's about trusting the process that leads to what's already secured. And every trial, every delay, every detour is not a threat to your ending. It is a tool that shapes you into the version of yourself that's strong enough to handle what's already waiting for you. The enemy doesn't fear your beginning. He fears your ending, because your ending proves the faithfulness of God. Your ending silences every lie spoken over your life. Your ending confirms that what God starts, He finishes. And you need to remember that just because the middle is messy doesn't mean the ending is at risk. Because the mess doesn't scare God, the struggle doesn't shake God, the slow seasons don't delay God, and the questions don't confuse God. Because He does not panic when you don't understand, He already planted the outcome before the problem ever showed up. If your end is settled, then your present can't cancel it, and you need to stop living like your mistakes are stronger than His mercy. Stop walking like your pain is permanent. Stop speaking like your delay is your destiny. Because your end is not found in what you've been through. It's found in who you were made to become. And if God called you to it, then He has already seen you walk in it, stand in it, lead in it, thrive in it, thrive in it. And your job is to trust that His version of your future is more accurate than your memory of the past. This is why the word says He is Alpha and Omega, not just beginning and end, but beginning from the end. Which means He starts what He already saw finished. And that's why you have no business giving up in the middle, no business comparing your now to someone else's later, no business doubting the promise just because the path looks different. Because if God says you're going to make it, then not even you can mess that up if you stay surrendered. Because grace covers what effort cannot, and mercy fills the gaps your strength can't reach. You don't need to fear the unknown when the outcome is already known in heaven, already settled in eternity, already backed by the character of a God who cannot lie. And when you realize that your story is not being written in real time, but revealed in due time, you stop striving, stop stressing, stop trying to control what is not yours to control, and instead you move with peace, with confidence, with the kind of faith that refuses to fold under pressure because it remembers. This is not the end, and even when it is the end, it's already good. And if it's not good yet, it's not the end, because the end has been signed by the author and sealed with His Spirit, which means every closed door was preparation, every loss was pruning, every delay was development. And even the things that felt like death were really disguised directions that pushed you closer to what was written before you were formed, because your destiny doesn't begin with your decision. It begins with His declaration. And nothing formed against you will prosper, because the end has already been decided in your favor. So now you walk like someone whose outcome is not in question, whose purpose is not on trial, whose legacy is not at the mercy of opinions, because when your end is settled, your peace becomes unshakable, your steps become ordered, your spirit becomes steady, and your voice becomes dangerous, not because you know every detail of the journey, but because you know the one who settled it from the start and still calls it finished even when you're standing in the middle.